is a very specific question, kind of looking past this game. If the Bills lose, are you sticking with your Bills to the Super Bowl take?
Oh, wow.
And Bills winning the Super Bowl.
Bills winning the Super Bowl. Yeah,
Oh,
they were
the Super Bowl and winning it.
There yet.
They were my pick.
Of
course.
Oh, can it quickly? Wow. Because there is, on this show, take integrity is like very
paramount.
Strong.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
So I get that. Like if the Ravens lose next week, I'm still going to be like, look, until they're mathematically out, I'm sticking with the Ravens.
Right.
But like outside to take integrity, will you really, you know what I mean?
Just
You
like on the
bit,
side.
Yeah, like in real life.
Still believe in them.
Listen, I think it is very hard to make the case so far this year that the Bills have like proven more than the Chiefs. I do Top 10 Tuesday, and I have the Chiefs ranked ahead of the Bills, like for this moment in time, right? That is undeniable. I do think this is the Bills' year. I do think this was a 2-game blip. I do think their offense is still, at the end of the year, we're going to look up and we're like, oh yeah, of course. James Cook, that offensive line, Josh Allen, they're going to be a top 5 offense in the NFL. And we'll see this week if their Bills defense can prove something to us. Because the defense has been bad.
Right.
It's been bad. And they've played tomato cans. So can they hold the Chiefs to under 28 points? The Chiefs have scored 28 5 weeks in a row.
Every game since the tackle return.
Right, including the loss to Jacksonville. So like if the Bills could hold the Chiefs to under 28, I think that would be a step in the right direction for their defense. I expect their offense to be really good. So yes, I am sticking with them, win or lose. It's a regular season game against the Chiefs. But sometimes I think we miss, like, how big is this game? How big is a game when we expect the teams to make the playoffs and the legacy is secure? You said Josh can't, nothing can be gained by beating the Chiefs. Nothing's really lost by the Chiefs if they lose to the Bills. Except for both of these teams are not off to the start that they expected, and teams in their division are off to a better start than we expected. So if the Bills lose this game, they go to 5-3. If they win, they are 6-2. If the Chiefs win this game, they are 6-3. If they lose, they are 5-4. Let's just look at what that means for each of these teams. So not about legacy. The top would apply to the Bills. The bottom would apply to the Chiefs. If the Bills win the game, they're 92% to make the playoffs. If they lose, 2/3 of the time. This is since the playoffs expanded, the current format. Chiefs are basically a 50-50 proposition if they lose. And I would argue, and we'll see if you guys agree with this, those bottom numbers, the 5-3 number and the 5-4 number, it actually would be lower for the Bills or for the Chiefs because they lost games to the team that are in first place in their division.
So harder to win the division, for sure.
So therefore harder to make the playoffs because there's 2 ways to make the playoffs.
Sure. So I look at it.
So my point is it's a massive game for both teams. It is not about legacy. It is not about January. This is a huge game for the team that loses. We're going to be like, yeah, they're probably going to make the playoffs because of pedigree, but there will be a legitimate question about them come Monday morning.
Do you think that about if the Bills lose, I will have no question they're still making the playoffs.
I will obviously assume they will also, but when you get to this point in the season and you keep stacking losses, and then we can point out who have you beaten that is impressive, where is your good win, and they're not going to win their division, it's a problem.
So I think it's more about because I do think that teams in the AFC right now most likely to make the playoffs, the Bills and Chiefs I would have as 2 of the top 3 along with the Colts because the Colts record plus their division, and I say that knowing one of them is going to lose this weekend. I would still say to make the playoffs. However, the reason I think this is such a critical game for Buffalo is all your fancy Josh Allen stats you can have, not one of them involves a road playoff victory because he doesn't have one. He's had 4 shots at it. He's never gotten it done. And that's not all against Patrick. That's some against Patrick, and it's some one against the Texans actually because he lost at home to the Bengals. And if the Bills lose this game, I won't think they're winning the AFC East. I will say that I think that the Patriots are going to be able to extend that lead in the division to where the Patriots could lose to the Bills later in the year and still have enough of a margin of error. And I don't know that I believe in Buffalo's ability to go on the road multiple times, much less they would have to do it 3 straight times to get to a Super Bowl. We joke about this game being the Bills' annual Super Bowl, but this game this week for Buffalo is that massive because they don't have the margin for error that they've had within that division that they've had previously, and I don't think that their defense is going to drastically improve over the course of the year. Like, that part legitimately concerns me for Buffalo. Bro.
Yeah, I look, Sean McDermott is a very good defensive coach. They do have a defensive culture somewhat there. But and not is all about the Ravens, but I have much more confidence in the Ravens' defensive culture and pedigree than the Bills. So I agree with you. I don't see the defense improving tremendously. But Danny, I don't have the Bills going to the Super Bowl anyway. But if I admit they are a top-tier contender right now. If they lose this game, I will feel like, you know what? They're going to make the playoffs, but they're not getting out of the AFC. Like, there's very little chance because I don't think they have a tremendous roster. They've got one incredible superstar. James Cook is legit. We know the offensive line is really good. But when you look at their skill positions outside of Cook, like, it doesn't compare to the Lions and the Eagles and even the Chiefs. I mean, I think their receivers are better. They obviously have a Travis Kelce too. So I think that they put a ton on Josh Allen's shoulders. And last year he won the MVP because many people were shocked he carried them to those heights. And I think this year it'll be like, okay, they've come down to earth. They're good. They're going to make the playoffs. But they need to add more players for them to win the Super Bowl.
See, but I don't think it's a skill position thing. Like, they
defense, right.
Right. They scored more points than the Eagles did last year. They were the best offense in football last year.
But why? Because of Josh Allen.
Yeah, but okay. So they didn't draft receivers in the first round.
On one guy.
It is, but with a top 5 offensive line in football, with a running back that leads the league in rushing so far, and Josh Allen. It's just not like a conventional, oh, there's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Oh, there's Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. There's Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's not like a bunch of names that you know from like fantasy football, but Josh Allen puts points on the board. But what's letting him down right now is their defense.
My question would be this. If they lose this game, what piece of evidence do we have from this year that the Bills are really good?
None.
I think the win against Baltimore in Week 1 is a good win. I think that is a good win, and it was a crazy game.
I think it was a good one because I think Baltimore is going to make the playoffs, and actually by the end of the year, people will believe in them. But Baltimore was destroying them, and not destroying, but they were beating them handily. And it took a historic meltdown for Buffalo to win that game.
And it also, Baltimore's played 3 contenders. And the other 2 contenders beat them far more handily than Buffalo did. Detroit beat them it was close and then soundly, and the Chiefs beat them badly. And so so now you can put the question on its head and say if the Chiefs lose,
that's kind of the point of the exercise.
My answer to that, the Chiefs would have a totally different pedigree than Buffalo does, but they also would have that same win over Baltimore you're talking about, except the Chiefs was a blowout. That same, instead of losing to Detroit, beating Detroit soundly. Like, the Chiefs have things to hang their hat on even if they lose this game. I just don't know what Buffalo will have if they lose this game.
But do you really think that Buffalo has, because obviously no one can compete with the pedigree of the Chiefs.
Yeah, no,
right?
but for this, go ahead.
But do you think that in the Buffalo Bills locker room there is some sort of crisis of confidence if they lose this game? I see no evidence of that.
I just don't think they'll be good enough to win the AFC. It will be evidence to me, combined with what we've seen earlier in the season, that they're not good enough to win the AFC.
No, but do you? I don't know what your picks are, but I assume you're going to have the Chargers beating the Titans, whether they're in your picks or not, right?
Yeah.
Then if the Bills lose this game, then depending on whether or not the Jags beat the Raiders, they will enter Week 9 of the season out of the playoffs.
But if the Chiefs lose this game, they will enter Week 9 of the season out of the playoffs.
That is absolutely correct, and I am sitting here telling you that I think it is totally fair and legitimate to have a separate way to judge the three-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs than how we would every other team in football. To have just a belief of the Chiefs will figure it out, that they have, or in a similar way we thought the Patriots with Brady would figure it out,
and I think
that they will. And so I do think that if the Bills, as we head into, this is week 9, as we finish week 9, if they go into week 10 the 8 seed, it's concerning. If the Patriots are 7-2 and they're the 8 seed, that to me would be concerning as far as their ability to win a championship.
But the Bills would be the 8, and the Chiefs would be out of the playoffs, but they could be more.
No. The
Chiefs
8
would be
seed,
in if
the
they
8
won.
seed, the 8 seed.
No, I'm saying if the Bills.
No, both is 8. You don't 8.
If the Bills won.
If the Bills won, the loser of this game is going to be the going into next week the 8 seed.
Out of the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. Whoever loses this game is going to be the 8 seed when we're on the air Monday, assuming the Chargers and the Jags beat the tomato cans they're playing. That's what I'm saying.
And all I'll say is, like, obviously I agree with you with pedigree. It's an inarguable point. But if the Bills lose the game, they're in second place in their division.
Yeah.
Chiefs lose the game, they're in third place.
Nick, you have a surprise.
Well, it is
I can't
Halloween.
wait. Yeah.
And
Love that.
my family, my mom and my sister live up in the Pleasantville area with Parkins. And I got this picture sent to me today.
Here
And we don't dress up for Halloween, but I don't know if you see that in the back. I don't know if we have another angle of it.
It's a great
But-
picture.
There's Danny Parkins.
Yeah.
And I tried to get him to wear this on the air. Can we zoom in on that,
I would have
Christina?
been happy to.
Is that
And-
Chargers?
It's a rocket ship.
It's a rocket ship.
great.
And so I'm showing this for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, because Danny's a great dad, great family. But also,
Thank you.
I want him leaking confidence before he gives his picks because I need a second straight 0-3.
You
week from Danny
chose
Parkins.
the wrong strategy.
Okay.
Now here's what, paint a little picture. Kindergartner, parade, kindergarten through 4th grade at the school, hundreds of parents, hundreds of kids.
Sure.
I was the only parent dressed up.
That's the thing.
I was the only
In
parent
those
dressed up.
pictures, there's no other parent in a costume.
Yeah,
which
so you
leads
really
me to
enjoy
believe
that.
I
Is that
love
what
it.
it
I think
they're
Danny,
all trick-or-treating right now. We're doing this
the thing
silly
is
little
this,
TV show.
Danny
They're 5
might-
and 3 years old. I
but-
got to show up. He
but-
was an astronaut. I'm the rocket ship.
But also, this is all related because as you're about to find out, the audience, if you're new to the show, Danny might have a weird thing for putting on costumes. Go ahead and hit the animation and see what he looks like in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm just telling you.
It's not a weird thing.
Yeah.
Here, I have this crazy concept that, like, sports TV, not that serious.
Yeah.
We can wear costumes. We're just talking sports, picking games.
I'm with you.
Picking winners. It's a great robe, Drew,
I'm with
by
you.
the way.
We're going to hit the animation?
Time for the Parkins.
I am seeing the NFL very clearly. This is the official pick segment. I plug into the matrix. I see the league clearly. I'm not going to let 3-0 change me. I'm not scared of picking big games, taking the points with Detroit. Play in the wood with the Chicago Bears. Easy, easier, and easiest. I know that I'm right. Let's recap what might have been the worst week in the history of picking games on FS1 or any other outlet. I've been 0-3 before. I've been gambling on sports since I was 15. 0-3 doesn't shake me. However, if we dig into the numbers of picking the Bears, Falcons, and Cowboys,
Disaster.
I lost by
58.
58 combined points straight up. That is a humiliation. I don't know what got into Tua. I don't know what got into Snoop Huntley.
Really?
And then, my God, that Cowboys-Broncos game really threw me for a loop. So I got to be honest, that's not great. And you're like, how do you find the confidence to dress up like a king on TV? Well, 65% last year. And because, am I embarrassed by being 12-12? No, because this guy over here is 11-13.
Temporary setback.
Still looking down
Minor
at him.
setback for a major comeback, America. That's
He
what
asked
they
me
say.
for a loan,
Yeah, thank
paying
you.
him on the loan from the winnings from last year. So we're moving forward, going to get back above 500 with the picks for Week 9. Colts -3 in Pittsburgh. At some point, Brew, the Steelers defense, 27th in EPA. I just had to throw EPA in there for you. It's all for you, man. But then the simpler statistics, the best offense against one of the worst defenses. I don't think Aaron Rodgers could keep up. 22nd in points, first scoring, first in yards, 6th in passing yards, 6th in rating, 4th in yards per pass. At this point, the Colts offense is going to need to see something much better than the Steelers defense to get slowed down. I love the Colts -3. you'll notice a trend here. Another favorite,
I like this
Seahawks -3 in Washington. We're going to go a little bit more into the nitty-gritty here. And that is, the Seahawks have found the best deep ball combination in the NFL this year between Sam Darnold and JSN. Literally the most receiving yards on passes over 20 yards. Darnold, the second highest passer rating on passes over 20 yards. Washington, the fourth most yards allowed on the deep ball. I expect a bunch of chunk plays, huge plays, big plays equal touchdowns, which equal covering the spread. And, as Nick mentioned earlier, Seahawks coming off the bye. Though that stat you shared about the Seahawks and their Eastern time zone record over the last 4 years, honestly a humiliating thing to say.
Okay.
I just don't think Geno Smith's Eastern time zone numbers are terribly relevant
the team
for this game. I don't think it
He
does.
loves Geno.
Geno. Last one. Nick also foreshadowed this. Chargers -9.5 at Titans. I was thinking like, oh man, Wilds is doing this an upset alert. Is his rationale going to sway me? It didn't.
No.
His heart wasn't in it.
His heart really wasn't in it. But here's the thing about Justin Herbert. If he has time to throw, he is, quite simply, one of the best in football. Those are his numbers this year when not pressured. Joe Alt is back. That's a big piece of it. They're getting the ball out quicker.
Maybe Joe Alt is Peyton Manning 2.0.
Maybe
the
he
whole
is.
season
But
relied.
that drop bar here,
Joe Alt.
Titans 26th in pressure percentage. Justin Herbert's going to have all the time in the world to throw. Little blip for me last week. 3-0. Back to the big week last week for the favorites. I went 3-0 on favorites 2 weeks
You
ago.
can't like these. One of them is a direct contradiction of your upset.
I love the Colts.
Okay,
I
so-
love the Colts one. And the Chargers one, I'll be honest with you, I could see this game going.
Can
That's a callback.
Can we spend a second on the Colts? Drew, do you have a... Because Steelers +3 was one of my picks on the pod. I do 5 on the podcast, 3 on the show, so it was one of the ones that didn't make the show. But I like the Steelers side of it. If for reasons I can explain in a minute. Where do you stand on that game? Because this is a game
Look,
we didn't talk about.
I almost picked that for my upset alert. Like, I
Pittsburgh.
think the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, there's a reason he has not had a losing season. I think I'm not saying the defense is ever going to be top 5 this year, but I think he's going to get it fixed to a point where they bounce back. And so I actually wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers won that game. I don't love that pick by
Ask the opposite side. We don't do a ton of Colts stuff, but Greg is coming on next week. If the Colts and Daniel Jones put it on the Steelers in a major way, is that going to sway how you look at at Indianapolis?
It'll sway me a little more toward that side, but I still want to see more. And they got several tough games coming
They got
up.
the
so we'll
Chiefs
see.
in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm more interested in this game when the Steelers have the ball. Because the Daniel Jones turning into a pumpkin thing is going to loom large in my head no matter what. He could win league MVP, and it will loom large in my head. Like, that's just me being honest. Just like it did with Darnold last year.
Are you done with that with Darnold? You feel like he's No.
I'm not sure. I mean, Darnold's played really well this year, and I think he's improving. His stature's improving in my head, I should say. But as big of a question as that is for me, a question about the Colts is, how good is that defense? Because one thing they haven't had to face a bunch of is the elite or even semi-elite quarterbacks, and I don't know if Rodgers is that, but I'm curious at this point. But I'm curious how that defense looks against Rodgers.
You know who put up a lot of yards against the Colts?
Who?
Cam Ward.
Okay.
Cam Ward getting better.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
That looks like definitely 2, maybe 3
I'll take
for
it.
Parkins.
Looks like
winning week.
Wilds, you
KW,
just
you
keep
have-
shooting down your upset alert. Like
Guys,
it's
I
ridiculous.
opened this saying I'm rooting for everybody to win.
Positive guy.
Everybody wins.
Welcome back. We got Coach Mangini and Willie Colon out here. Last night, no tricks, all treat. Hashtag Christina wrote that. For the Ravens and Lamar's return. 204 yards and 4 touchdowns. A 28-6 win over the Dolphins. All right, Willie. Happy Halloween. The Ravens officially back.
Happy Halloween. I do appreciate your costume. I
Thank
know
you.
you got a lot of slack for that, but
Thank you.
I
It's
did
okay.
like you just being a dad.
That's right.
To me, this was a checklist game. I wanted to see him look healthy. I wanted to see him look explosive and efficient, and I got that. I thought the first half he was groggy. The second half, I think that's when Lamar came into fruition. He had 3 straight passes in the third quarter. And I think right now, if you're the Ravens, you have to feel like, okay, now we're starting to cook. And obviously it's because of Lamar Jackson. I think defensively, I wanted to see their impact players show up. Roquan Swift had 12 tackles for the second straight week. And, Kyle Hamilton caused havoc. Are they back? No, but they're dangerous. I think anytime you're 3-5, it brings hope back into the building. But I think if you're the Ravens right now, you have to start stacking dubs, right? Then you can't, because the way the schedule
2 wins in 5 days.
100%. But now it's like, all right, we can't go backwards. We got to start stacking dubs.
Yeah, it was the 2 wins in 5 days, and it was also the fact that they had one of those wins without Lamar Jackson, which was significant.
I remember.
And a team that was riding the 4-game win streak, you're riding a 4-game losing streak. That was significant. Then Lamar comes back, doesn't have a great first half, has a much better second half. And defensively, what I liked is they held him for 2 for 12 on third down.
Yep.
0 for 3 in the red zone. Both those things were good. The time of possession was again back in favor of the Ravens, where they were 5th last year in time of possession. And this year they've been 27th, so that's more in line with how they've historically played. So it's a lot of really positive steps. And now if Pittsburgh struggles this weekend, they're 1 game behind in the division. That can easily go any way.
So I thought the Lamar side of it and the offensive side of it was like 10 out of 10 encouraging for if you're a Ravens fan. Came back, he looked healthy, he was on the move, he had 4 touchdowns, all of that stuff. And then the numbers at the end, it's like, okay, you got 3 turnovers and you held the Dolphins to 6 points. So it must have been a great game defensively. I don't know. I watched every play of that game. First quarter, the Dolphins had a 10-play, 57-yard drive that ended in a missed 35-yard field goal. They were going for it on 4th and 1. They had the penalty. Then they kicked the field goal, and then they missed it. Second quarter, they had a 10-play, 67-yard drive that ended with a turnover on downs. Fourth quarter, the Dolphins had a 12-play, 81-yard drive that ended with a fumble. Miami was moving the ball. So I don't think that the Ravens are like all the way back. I did not think that was a dominant performance. Like the score was dominant and Lamar looked good, but I did not think that looked like a tier 1 team right now.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's like watching baseball with a long foul ball. That's a home run, but it's a foul ball. Like, okay, great. You had a 10-play drive and you missed a field goal. You had a 10-play drive and you fumbled. So it's not perfect, but if you can prevent points at the end of a drive and you're good in the red zone, that's huge. And to hold a team to 6 points in the NFL, regardless of who they are, is a really difficult thing to do, even when they're making mistakes.
Yeah, but I also think, to your point, Coach, it's easy to, I guess, talk about the deficiencies on defense because they did look shaky at times. I give you that. But I think when you look at that bottom bar and you see Henry rush for 19 yards for 119 yards and 19 rushes, that's the Ravens being back. You know what I mean? That's the swagger. That's the identity. Running the ball, explosive plays with Lamar Jackson, letting the defense kind of close out games, and we got that. So as far as momentum, yeah, the Ravens are dangerous. I mean, they're a team right now because of Lamar and the way they're starting cooking. And I also think they're getting healthier too.
That is undeniable.
That's a big factor. Everybody's starting to get healthy at the same time, so you got to watch out.
And then the schedule piece of it is just it's like the 1A, 1B story of the Ravens because they dug themselves this crazy hole at 1-5. They had the bye. They have the 2 wins. Lamar's back. Lamar looks good. They're getting healthy. And it just feels like a long runway. It honestly feels like we should expect this team to be on a 6-game winning streak heading into the Pittsburgh game. And if that is the case, they will be what? They're 3-5. They'll be 7-5 heading into that game against Pittsburgh. Like that, I know you can't just pencil in wins in the NFL, but they eliminated their margin for error, so they are going to be treating it that way.
And think about how we've been talking about the Pittsburgh defense. So as much as we've been maligning the Baltimore defense, Pittsburgh has the same issues, the same problems.
Arguably worse.
And they have a much less dynamic quarterback than Lamar.
With a much tougher schedule between now and then. So, yeah, overall, you win 2 games in 5 days and you get your MVP quarterback back, and he looks amazing.
And he finished the game, too, which was important because we know those soft tissue injuries. I mean, he could have got tackled, did something, and it could have been a reset for him, but it wasn't. So he finished the game healthy was important.
And Nick made a great point yesterday when he's like, we've never seen him be injured in season and come back, so we didn't know how he would deal with rust. And he did look rusty early, but by the end of the game, he did not.
I think the second half, I think he just kicked off the training wheels. He said, I got to go, and he did.
All right, so on the other side of the ball here, the Dolphins, they lose the game, and then they make moves. They fired their general manager, Chris Greer, this morning. He only had 26 years with the team. I guess it was about time. General manager since 2016. The reports are, though, that Mike McDaniel is going to keep his job at least through this season, and they'll reevaluate. They put up just 2 field goals on the Ravens defense. They are now 2-7. Fans were not happy. They were letting them hear it. Boos all night. So the question is if we're surprised that Mike McDaniel is keeping his job. It's certainly unconventional to fire a GM but keep a coach. But I advocated for this 2 months ago on the show. Chris Grier has, to me, a pretty indefensible track record. Given how long he has been there, 26 years with the organization, 10 years as the GM. And the Tua contract, the state of their offensive line, the 2020 draft, he has the 5th pick. He takes Tua. The next pick they had 3 first-round picks that year. Mm-hmm. They had the 5th pick. They take Tua. The next pick is Herbert. The 18th pick, they take Austin Jackson. Justin Jefferson goes a few picks later. 30th pick, they took a cornerback that's been on 3 teams. A couple picks later, it's T. Higgins. And it's been pretty consistent. But my argument on Mike McDaniel is if he got fired today, 25 teams would want to hire him to be their offensive coordinator?
Oh, hands down.
Right?
I give you that.
And this is a little bit, you guys have to go with me here and see if you follow the logic. Would anyone here say that Tua is a top 10 quarterback in football?
No.
No?
I mean, he's played at that level in moments, and that's why he got the contract that he got.
Yeah,
I know. In this moment right now, everybody's saying that how could he have ever gotten that contract? When he got that contract, there weren't very many people saying he doesn't deserve this contract. So it's a little bit of revisionist.
There were some of us though, all right, fair enough. So you're in that vicinity then. Because this is what the production has been offensively since 2022 when Mike McDaniel took over with Tua. To me, that is remarkably impressive given the limitations of the quarterback. Top 5, top 10 offensive production over a 3-year sample. Yeah. And I'll be honest, Miami is my least favorite team in the NFL to watch play football. And looked it up to confirm if my eyes were telling me, if the numbers backed up what my eyes said. They have 81 passes this year behind the line of scrimmage. By far the most in the NFL. It's just snapping and throwing because he's not a downfield quarterback.
That's always been Tua, though. There's nothing.
I know.
Even a year that coach is talking about when he got the contract in 2003, it was on rhythm, quick strikes, dink and dunks.
But if you can produce at the level that Mike McDaniel has produced without throwing the ball down the field, tells me you've got a pretty good coach.
Well, the one thing that they've got to think about, and the reason I would imagine they kept him, is because he has had success with Tua, and Tua didn't have a very good relationship with Brian Flores, and then that was talked about a lot.
Right.
So he comes in, now the offense is as productive as they are, and Tua has $54 million that got guaranteed in March, so that triggered for next season. So that's there. It looks like it's $99 million in dead money if they move on from him.
Which is why they fired Chris Grier.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that Mike McDaniel stays to the end of this season. And depending on what they want to do with the quarterback, who knows what happens even with a new GM.
Yeah, for me, it's why wait. I will let Mike McDaniels go because I'm not judging him on his play calling abilities. I'm judging him on the program. The culture and trajectory of the Dolphins is toxic. We've heard the rumors. We've seen things that make us go, this is not a good ball club. And the coach talked about, the crux of the problem is Tua. You can't get rid of him in the offseason because you got that big dick cap hit. But if you're looking at the Dolphins, on top of them right now, this is a ball club, right, that can't move forward because they're incompetent at the quarterback position. They lack depth and they lack serious talent from a roster standpoint. And they have a head coach that seems like nobody respects or has brought into. So the need, for me, it's like you have to make the move now. Why wait when you already told the world we're in reset mode? So I wouldn't wait no more. Like you said, he'll be a great OC somewhere else. I think his time is up.
It is funny though when he came in, and it's always the way. You have a disciplinarian, you go get a player's coach. He goes to the playoffs first 2 seasons, and it's like, oh, this is so refreshing. What a refreshing way to run a team, and you've got an intellectual and all those
swagger
accolades.
And confidence. 100%.
Well, I'm just saying all those accolades that went with it, and now it hasn't been as successful, and he's completely
I get it, and
incompetent.
I still, the culture, the toughness, I can't argue that part of it. But if he's a great play caller and a great offensive mind, you could do worse. In my mind, you could do worse than Mike McDaniel and 2 playoff losses, one with Skylar Thompson as his quarterback and one in that freezing game at Arrowhead.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.